Once upon a time, there was a queen who desperately wanted a son. But instead she had a daughter, and when her husband died, she had no choice but to pass the throne to her. You see, this was not your average kingdom. This was the kingdom of Ethel, a place where every night the palace walls whispered secrets to those who listened closely enough, where trees shimmered with untold histories, and where the very stones seemed to remember every joy and sorrow that had ever touched them. The young princess grew up hearing stories of her father, King Oberon, told by her mother, Queen Alara. Stories of a great and generous king whose wisdom was matched only by his courage. He had ruled with a gentle hand, always listening to the whispers of the kingdom, always responding to its needs. Alara would tell her daughter how he had been able to hear the silent pleas of the wind, how he'd negotiated treaties with neighboring kingdoms by speaking with trees and flowers, how he had settled arguments between birds by weaving spells of understanding in their minds, and how he'd even conversed with the mountain spirits, calming their ancient wrath when they threatened to bury the kingdom in avalanches. As the years passed, the princess grew into a beautiful young woman with a gentle heart and a curious mind. She loved listening to the stories of her father. She spent most of her free time in the royal library, poring over old books about the history of her people. But her mother saw these interests as frivolous and petty. And from the moment the princess could understand, she drilled into her head one simple fact. You are next in line to the throne. Your duty is to produce an heir for me, so that our bloodline continues. One day the princess met a traveling storyteller who regaled her with tales from faraway lands. And for the first time, she heard a story that didn't involve her father. It was a classic fairy tale about a princess who attends the emperor's ball in elaborate garments, loses one of her golden slippers while escaping a terrible suitor, and then is married by a kind prince who found the shoe which fit her perfectly. And the princess thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if something like that happened to me? I'd love to escape this suffocating responsibility. Then the princess noticed something odd. Her reflection in the window seemed to mock her with a cruel smile. Oh. She rubbed the glass and stared again. In the reflection, the smile widened. The princess blinked, and when she looked back, the smile was even bigger. Then she began to laugh, surprised at the strange game her mind was playing. But then she stopped abruptly, realizing that the reflection wasn't moving at all. It wasn't her mind playing tricks. She was still laughing, but her reflection wasn't. And that's when the princess understood that she wasn't looking at her reflection, but at a vision, a premonition of the future. Terrified, she ran to the royal library and locked herself inside, determined to find a way to change her fate. She searched through countless volumes, but the more she read, the more she realized that there was no escape. The stories told of a great king and a wicked queen, of noble sacrifices and dark bargains, of love and loss, of wars won and kingdoms saved. And each story was a reminder that the princess was destined to follow in her father's footsteps, whether she wanted to or not. Suddenly, a voice startled her. Ah, so you have finally discovered the truth. The princess whirled around, but there was no one there. Was it the spirit of the library? Had it been watching her? She shook her head, trying to clear away the cobwebs of centuries-old magic. But as she did, she saw a tiny object lying on an ancient scroll. It was small and smooth, like a polished stone, yet it seemed to glow with an inner light. The princess picked it up and felt a jolt of energy course through her body. And in that moment, she knew that this mysterious pea was the key to her future. Each grain of sand whispered secrets of ages past. Each leaf bore witness to forgotten dreams and desires. The forest itself seemed to thrum with a deep, ancient magic. And as the princess walked among the trees, she felt as though she were being watched, judged by silent, unblinking eyes. She returned to the palace, shaken by her experience. She couldn't shake off the feeling that she was being tested. Was the forest trying to tell her something? Is this pea somehow connected to her destiny? That's when Queen Alara summoned her daughter. Finally, she said, "My dear, it's time we put your future to rest. You will attend the grand ball at the Emperor's palace. There, you will meet Prince Caius, and I know he will make you a suitable offer." On the night of the ball, the princess wore a gown that shimmered like moonlight on water. Her hair was a waterfall of spun gold, and her eyes sparkled with both excitement and fear. At the palace, she was the center of attention. Suitors from distant kingdoms lined up, each vying for her hand. But the princess paid them no heed. She danced with the prince, endured the endless stream of polite conversation, ate delicious food, and all the while, she couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. Finally, the moment arrived when the suitors were dismissed, and the princess was left alone with Prince Caius. He was tall and handsome, with a charming smile and a confident air. But as soon as the festivities ended, and they were alone in the grand hall, his demeanor shifted. He was no longer the charming prince.
Ow.
He was a man on a mission, a man who cared little for pleasantries.
Oh.
He wasted no time in making his intentions clear. Marriage between our kingdoms would be a wise choice. My father, the emperor, has many enemies. With your father gone, you are the key to securing my dynasty's future. I am willing to overlook your humble origins. If you agree to marry me, I will ensure your mother's place as queen. I will treat her as such. But the princess couldn't help but feel a growing sense of dread. She knew that if she agreed, her life as she knew it would cease to exist. She would be trapped in a gilded cage, forced to play the role of the perfect princess, while her heart withered from neglect. But then she remembered the pea. What if she could use it to test the prince, to find out if he was truly the man she was meant to marry? That night, the princess placed the pea under her pillow and waited. When dawn finally broke, she got up and went to the bathroom. She splashed cold water on her face and stared at her reflection. But she saw no evidence of tears, yet she had cried. She reached under her pillow and picked up the pea. It was warm. She had dreamed of her father. He had spoken to her of his love for her mother, of his grief at having to send her away, and of his unshakable belief in her strength and resilience. With newfound clarity, the princess knew what she had to do. She sent for Prince Caius and told him of her decision to accept his proposal. They were married in a lavish ceremony attended by nobles from all over the kingdom. The entire court was abuzz with excitement. After all, a union between two powerful families was always cause for celebration. But the princess was far from happy. She hated the suffocating etiquette, the endless stream of parties, the vacant smiles and forced laughter. She hated everything about court life. And as the weeks turned into months, her unhappiness grew. She began to withdraw from society, spending most of her time alone in her chambers. The pea became her constant companion. She carried it everywhere, even to bed. And every night she dreamed of her father, of the whispering woods, and of a life that could have been hers. Then one day, Queen Alara visited her daughter. "How can you bear to live like this? You are the queen, my darling. You should be ruling, not hiding away like a scared child." But the princess couldn't bring herself to speak. She was too busy reliving her dreams. And that's when her mother noticed the pea. "What is that?" The princess hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Finally, she admitted, "I don't know. I just found it in the library." But Queen Alara wasn't convinced. "This pea holds power, my child, more than you can possibly imagine. It's a relic from a time before memory, a fragment of pure magic, and it has chosen you." The princess was confused. Chosen her for what? But her mother only smiled mysteriously and said, "You will understand soon enough. For now, you must prepare yourself. The pea has revealed your true nature, and it is time for you to embrace it." The following night, the princess dreamt of a great battle. She saw her father leading his knights into war, his face grim with determination. She watched as he fought valiantly, his sword flashing in the moonlight. But then she saw him fall, his eyes wide with surprise, a dagger protruding from his chest. The princess woke up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly she understood. She was descended from a long line of warrior queens, women who had ruled with wisdom and strength. The pea had revealed her true nature, and it was time for her to embrace it. She had a kingdom to protect, a legacy to uphold. She was not just a princess. She was a leader, a warrior, a queen. And she was ready to take her place on the throne,